Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's jump right in, because honestly, keeping up with how we communicate today is literally one of the most exciting things you can learn right now. We are living through a massive, absolute evolution. For centuries, sharing complex ideas meant relying heavily on the written word. And hey, traditional literacy was, and for sure still is, important. But the language of the 21st century has shifted completely. We've moved away from just relying on text to fully embracing this vibrant, dynamic world of digital storytelling. It's a total visual paradigm shift. And mastering it? Well, it's not just optional anymore. It's absolutely essential if you want to connect, persuade, and actually make an impact in today's fast-paced world.
So that brings us to a kind of provocative question right out of the gate. Is traditional reading enough anymore? It's a real problem we're all facing. Technology has pushed visual communication so fast that, let's be real, consuming info today just doesn't require as much dedicated reading. Think about it. Our daily feeds are totally dominated by visual-first algorithmic content that demands instant comprehension. Visual literacy has basically exploded onto the scene. Our vision is our most powerful sense, right? High-quality images let us bypass massive walls of text and get straight to the core of an idea in a fraction of a second. So, if we want to grab attention, help people understand us, and make sure they actually remember what we said, we've got to adapt.
Here is our roadmap for today. Number 1, the new multimedia literacy. 2, the power of visual storytelling. 3, the Ken Burns approach. 4, tech essentials for exporting. And finally, number 5, the magic of cropping. Let's get to it.
All right, starting us off, Section 1, the new multimedia literacy. You know, when we look at what multimedia literacy actually means today, it's pretty mind-blowing how broad it's gotten. It's not just about snapping a well-lit photo or picking a cool font anymore. It's the seamless combination of text, audio, images, video, motion graphics, and even 3D effects. And right now, this whole ecosystem is just exploding thanks to the influence of AI. These new generative tools are taking away so much of the stress and time it used to take to create professional-level stuff. But why does combining all this media matter so much? Because it's immediate, it's rich. It lets us amplify what we're saying in a way that just reading a standard block of text never could.
Now, think about a giant stack of books versus one single, crystal-clear image. The difference in efficiency is wild, right? Text takes time. It inherently requires more reading skills and a much heavier cognitive load to interpret. But visual information? Boom, it's immediate. Images give you the whole picture, all the details, the second you look at them. Because of that, visual information is highly efficient at creating a shared experience. It builds consensus. It gets a whole room of people on the exact same page instantly, which is an absolute game changer when you're trying to explain a complex idea without everyone zoning out.
Moving on to Section 2, the power of visual storytelling. So digital storytelling is basically the ultimate mashup. You're taking your photos, your data, or your art, and you're weaving them with video and graphics to tell a real narrative. And what's so cool about this is just how versatile these mediums are in the real world. You might be whipping up a sleek PowerPoint for a huge corporate pitch, or laying out a magazine, or building a website for a local shop, or even designing this crazy interactive multimedia project for a museum. It could be anything. There are just so many ways to inspire people and guide their understanding just by pairing the right images with the right sounds.
But here's the absolute golden rule, and I'm going to keep coming back to this. The main thing is that we don't want to overclutter things. We want to be better visual storytellers. Honestly, that is the open secret to great design. Images have this amazing power to build unity around your info. But here's the catch. A clean, focused image gets people to actually take action. If it's a chaotic, cluttered mess, you lose them. An image hits way harder than words, for sure, but only if we stay disciplined and keep the focus purely on our message.
Okay, Section 3, the Ken Burns approach. If you really want to crush it in this medium, you've got to start thinking like a filmmaker to reach your audience emotionally. Finding that perfect image and framing it just right literally lets the viewer stop, slow down, and wonder. It makes them reflect on what they're seeing, instead of just mindlessly swiping past to the next shiny thing. When you use graphics with fewer distractions, you put all the emphasis right on the subject. It gives you the space to naturally build on the story you're trying to tell.
A massive pro tip here to avoid visual noise is to look at how the legendary documentary filmmaker Ken Burns operates. His style is the perfect working metaphor for us. Step 1. Use simple, powerful photography to hit that core emotion. Step 2. Strip away all that distracting ornamentation. I'm talking about those crazy borders, wild transitions, or totally unnecessary drop shadows. Ditch them. And Step 3. Lay it out in a way that is totally digestible. Next time you design something, ask yourself, does this make someone feel something? Just like a great movie would.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Section 4, Tech Essentials for Exporting. Okay, time for some tough love. We can be the most brilliant, creative content creators in the universe, but unless you know how to properly export your files from Illustrator, Photoshop, or Canva, you aren't going to get anything to anybody. Seriously, if you send a client a broken file, they are not going to care about your artistic vision. And worse, you aren't getting paid. Understanding exactly how to deliver that final working file based on what the client technically needs is what actually separates the amateurs from the pros.
And when it comes to printing physical stuff, I need you to burn this number into your brain right now, 300. This stands for pixels per inch, or PPI. Or, dots per inch, DPI, if we're talking about actual ink on paper. Basically, it just means exactly how much colored data is crammed into a single square inch of your image.
Let's break down how this works in the real world. If you're printing something tangible, like an album cover, a poster, whatever, it absolutely must be exported at 300 PPI. That guarantees a crisp, dense, professional-looking print. But, and this is huge, if your project is just staying on a screen, like a website, exporting at 300 PPI is a terrible idea. You'll hand your client this massive, bloated file that takes 10 seconds to load on a phone, and that's just going to tank their web traffic. Knowing the difference between these two specs is absolutely non-negotiable. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the magic of cropping.
Cropping is hands down one of the most fundamentally important tools you have. It's your secret weapon against clutter. When you crop an image right, you're actively doing 3 vital things. First, you amplify the exact data or subject that actually matters. Second, you simplify the whole message by chopping out the background noise. And third, by doing those first 2 things, you guarantee the image actually reaches your audience emotionally. It's basically the Ken Burns approach in action. You cut out the noise so the viewer has to look exactly where you want them to look.
So, we've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today. From the big picture philosophy of multimedia literacy right down to the cold, hard facts of 300 DPI exports. The power to communicate faster, clearer, and to way more people is literally right at your fingertips. And with AI tools breaking down those technical barriers, it takes less time than ever to create something stunning. You have the tools to capture the world's attention. You know how to remove the clutter, think like a filmmaker, and deliver like a pro. The only question left is, what story will you tell? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I seriously cannot wait to see what you create.